Hey, family. Sometimes nowadays we tend to find things out quicker through social media than through conventional news. And I'll never forget a couple weeks ago, I was up late, like most fathers of young children are. And I was scrolling through my phone and I saw a post that I couldn't believe. It said that the Oloyo of Oyotunji had transitioned, the brother Adejuyigbe, and I couldn't believe it. You hear so much fake news and things like that. People try to be funny online, and I really didn't pay much mind to it whatsoever. But as the night went on, and you start seeing other posts, and when you kind of are in this life, and people come to you and let you know information and whatnot, unfortunately, it started seeming very real. And when you start looking in the comments and you see, the family asking for privacy and not to propagate anything, at that point, you come to the conclusion, unfortunately, this has occurred. So we at our roots, we're all about respect. We're all about boundaries. And, regardless of, the spiritual aspect of things, this is a very human situation. And, you want people to be able to go through their process of healing after losing somebody so integral, within their nucleus and all of our nucleuses as Omo Yoruba or Omo Dua, the children of that nation and those people. So to be able to help us understand, what occurred, most importantly, the history of, this village, which has been so influential for Yoruba culture in the New World, and who this gentleman was as a human being, we thought it was appropriate to bring someone in that we have a great amount of esteem for, that we've sat down with before, who was very involved in that establishment. And I'd like you guys to join me in welcoming none other than Baba Ifakunle, the Aare Ago of Oyotunji.
Yes, Boye. How are you? Greetings and salutations to everyone out there.
Oba Wa Ja O, brother. It's always great to interact. Our first episode was fabulous. We've dialogued. I really didn't expect the second episode or part two to be under these conditions. So the first thing we want to go ahead and say is our condolences for your loss, all of our losses. What? How'd you hear about it? What were you doing? You know.
Wow, really just asking me that question alone starts to get a sense of vibration, tingling all over my body. It's like reenacting that whole being, and I just like unbelievable. It's not, it can't be, fake news. I always think about, this fake news thought and saying that it must be something that is not real. It can't be real. So I made my calls. I heard who someone who said, "Listen, Baba, did you hear that someone that the king, oh, it can't be true. That's not true, right?" And I'm like, "What?" And it literally happened, moments, like you said, that public media thing. There was a media frenzy about it. So it was actually one of my godchildren that found out first.
Yeah, and it is one of those out of body experiences because, even though we're supported by our faith and we have such strong beliefs as Yoruba people,
I,
we never really come to terms with death. It's still something that surprises, it's always the unexpected guest, especially, not that any life is more than another, but somebody that, is really integral, to our process and who we are to go like that. And it's such a young age is nothing short of shocking.
Absolutely. I mean, what we say in Oyotunji, it says Oba Oku Ani Sapamo Si Aja, which means that the king is not dead. He's hiding in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And we have a sense and belief in Yoruba customs that our ancestors are always with us, and particularly our kings never have the right to sleep. Those who are in places, in high places, they are only in hiding. And of course, in Ogbe Lara, it talks about Orumila who was hiding in the ceiling. And,
Yes.
you know, Edu was the only one that knew, found out. And he says, Edu is not dead. Edu is not dead. He's only hiding in the ceiling. So it is the same thing that I would say with our Oba. Oba is hiding. He's hiding in the ceiling.
Yeah, I recall that story, a really beautiful one and really promising because when you talk about being a king, which, most people don't realize the amount of pressure and the amount of responsibility that comes with that position. I never will. Um, it's that of paternity. It's that of a father. And, when you have children, you begin to realize you never will sleep again because even in slumber, you're thinking about them and their well being. And from what
That's right.
I've heard about this gentleman, he was very invested in the progress of his people and that village and creating
Yes.
relationships and whatnot. So that was very promising to hear and know as well. Could you please, because I heard his father was an excellent man as well. Could you kind of go into the history of Oyotunji
Sure.
and the first establishment?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, when we're talking about Osojimina Defumi the first, his father, and we're talking about, we called him King. His birth name was, last name was King. So interestingly enough, he was called King before he even became a king, or he became um, a bale, which means the owner of the town or the person of the town. And so he was initiated in Matanza, Cuba in 1959. And he had, prior to that, had been involved and interested in putting it together voodoo and putting voodoo in 1954, 1955. And in those years, he was instrumental in forming the Shango temple that was here in Harlem, USA. It had many different incarnations throughout Harlem, and you know, he had been involved with the Nation of Islam when the Nation of Islam would stand with them, and they would stand with the Nation of Islam. And it was about liberty. It was about bringing justice, about being about change, and that is really most important. His father was an amazing man because he realized, dealing with like the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey realized that we needed to find our own place, our place where we could be accepted. Being in the city, being in New York City, dealing with the the adverse feelings of African culture, and people not really having a sense of being African. This idea of being African American or Africans in the diaspora, or all of us who have really, we're all connected to Africa. Like you said, Omo Oduduwa. We're all Omo Oduduwa. We're all Omo of that place. So in some ways, but what he did is he realized that we needed to have a place. We needed to have sovereignty. We needed to be able to devoid ourselves and be able to invest ourselves into our African past. And so that would incline to take African clothes on and would be able to speak our dialects and our African languages. And so Yoruba was being well taught and well spoken, an education system that we needed to be able to educate our children. We needed to do initiations for ourselves and to be able to be self sufficient. And so he definitely believed in, like the Honorable Marcus Garvey, in self sufficient and also having sovereignty and being able to build nation. And our nation, as Oyotunji or Oyotunjiites, in some ways, was to be able to reclaim our African past and to be able to take hold of our languages and to be able to speak Yoruba, speak Igbo, speak Hausa, and freely be able to communicate using drum, which was also a part of Oyotunji's existence. The drum, of course, was the sound beat, and you could know by the drums and what they said throughout the village what was going on, when the event was. And those things were the type of things that were taught in Oyotunji.
Yes, sir. Now, you having interacted with his father, for so long, what were your first memories of the king that just passed? I mean, did you meet him as a young man? What were
Yeah.
your first interactions with him and impressions of him?
Is this a picture of them? Excuse me if I'm wrong, but is that the two of them or no?
So the one on the
No.
left was the late Alafing of Oyo, who
Okay.
actually passed away semi recently, and then obviously the brother from Oyo Tunji on the right. Yeah,
Okay, sorry about
Aare
that.
Ago.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Bubba.
Yeah. So I actually came in contact with him as a young man. You know, I remember him as a young boy in I think I met him in 81, or I was in the village in 75, but I remember meeting him in 1981. That's when I can have a more recollection. And then as a teenager, coming up with his father, as they would come to different things that we have here in New York City. He was always, wonderful drummer, a wonderful spirit, energetic. And all the young boys in Oyotunji village were, very respectful of the elders, recognizing that I had been around for quite a while, knew me, knew my face. And so, later on, as he progressed, he came up and, we take him out and show him the town. He was a country boy showing him the city life. And he was always interested in all the activities that he could possibly be involved in. But he was when he described his life with his father, he always felt like his father's time was always being taken by somebody else. As a diviner, as a king, he was a king and he was a diviner. He was a chief. He was playing so many roles. He was a teacher, and his son, Adejuyigbe, Adejuyigbe, was always feeling like, his father was busy. He wasn't, not able to, I guess, to interact with him in the way that he might have expected. So it was very interesting because he, then of course it was divine that he was Baba Tunde, that he was the father returned, and so he was actually claimed and at birth at his entire that he was going to be one day the takeover because he was the father. He was um, Osurjaman Adefunmi I, his father. So he was his father returned. So it's that kind of role and position. I don't necessarily believe that initially he was ready to embrace the position and role. But when he did, and he started to get it, the ball started to roll. And he had to realize that he was not living in his father, but he had to live his own truth. And he had to live in his own shadow. And he embraced several crowns. He did not only have one crown, he had 5 crowns. So when we're talking about a king, this is not only a king of just one. He had embraced 5 crowns out of Africa and, holding that crown, the major crown here in the United States.
You being a gentleman who's experienced life and at that stage, what were your impressions of him and how he was handling becoming king at such a young age? From what I can see or what I understood, his father passed around 2005, I believe. So he
Yeah,
would have been in his 20s, correct?
yeah.
And what
So
were you seeing?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Forgive me. What did you notice about him when he had to ascend to that role? Was it natural almost, having that pedigree for him?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so like I said, I think initially it was tough because when you inherit this role at a young age, and he had older brothers and sisters, and so he's then is going to take on the role of a family. He's taken on to this major patriarchic role, and being able to not only lead his family, but now he has to lead a nation and show connections and allegiance to Nigeria and to the different crowns and the places in which the Benin crown and go into the Voodoo crown. He had various things that went on as things progressed, and he had begun to invest himself so much in his time, his energy, and effort into be able to build Oyotunji village. He had a vision of Oyotunji where he wanted to expand. He wanted to see where people would come in festivals, because idea of festivals was such a big part of what his father believed that we needed. We needed days that we could be able to celebrate. We needed days to be able to celebrate Shango. We needed the days to celebrate Obatala, Ogun. We needed days to celebrate the king. And there was a days to celebrate our feminine energies, Oshun, Yemanja, Oya, all the various deities that we have. And so they were incorporating, and they have always been incorporating these things in Oyotunji village. And many people that have never been able to witness or even to see Oyotunji, I can tell you that I experienced Oyotunji, that it was more difficult living in Oyotunji than it was actually living in Africa. Because in some ways, Oyotunji was more rustic, and we had to learn how to bathe in tubs, and we had to pump our own water. There was only one well in the town, and we went throughout the town. We had no running water, no electricity. And as a young adult coming up and a teenager, in fact, coming up in that era, seeing the things that Oyotunji offered and being able to experience Of course, I hated it. I was like, I'm a city boy, But it also, looking back, it prepared me so much for my adventures as an adult and helping me to develop a certain level of strength and tenacity, as well as being a foundation by which I could build my own understanding and my own love for my tradition, my African traditions, as well as becoming a Babalao and Obatala, and all of the various deities that we continue to worship.
Thank you, Baba. Now, obviously, the tutu isn't an enjoyable process by any means. And, even for someone that just transitions with just hand of Ifa, it's complex. What are some of the public aspects of the funeral rites, without delving into taboo, of course, that you could let people know about so they can understand the process it takes to be able to not only transition one king into the land of the ancestors, but to bring another one into the throne, you know?
Right. So, well, we know that one of the things that's very important, we want to know that everything is going to be done through divination. The rituals that are performed, there are certain rituals that are going to be performed that have already been performed. Prior to the rituals being performed, no one was, we were told not to speak publicly, not to give any type of public interviews, and not to be able, and one of the reasons I'm so glad and so happy that I'll be able to be here on your Our Roots podcast is because one of the things we want to get the word out. We want to know that there are people that want to try to make lay things straight. So one of the things is that there's a lot of rituals that have to be performed. There's readings and there's divination. Letters have to be sent to kings, to the Oni of Ife, and those are both written letters as well as spiritual letters that have to be delivered before we can begin. The first of ceremonies that are going to be performed are going to be performed for the family. And it's going to be performed for the family, the chiefs, and for the dignitaries that are going to be coming in from out of town. And so we ask that those dignitaries be able to come and be received well. So we're looking to lay out royal carpets and the layout so we can have the spread and the recognition that he so deserved as being a king, not of one nation or not being only of one crown, because he had a lot of connection with the Native Americans as well. So the Native Americans will be present, the chiefs of Native American villages, and will be present at his interment and his celebration of life, because that is really what it's going to be, a celebration of someone who has been doing good work.
Thank you for that clarification because, with so much going on, I mean, my regards to everybody who's helping organize that because when you have so many moving parts and you just want it to be so precise for a man that was so loved, it seems. What has been the response from Africa? How have you spoken to some brothers over there? What has been the outcry from over there, hearing that one of their sons is fallen?
Yeah, yeah. So there's been a serious outcry in Africa because one of the things they don't understand how could this ever be possible that the king died or had this accident or this occurred to a king. There's medicine that needs to be prepared for us, as Babalao, as healers, herbalists, anti-gun, anti-stabbing, all of these kind of things. But one of the things people are not understanding is this was a close relative. This is in close proximity. This is somebody who the king was trying to assist and aid. He was trying to assist and aid his family. And he was somebody who's also dealing with mental issues. And so what ends up happening, this is something, this was erratic. This is something that was unexpected. This is not something that's clear. You have your guard down when you're next to your family. So this is where many of the people in Africa are having difficulties trying to understand, how is this possible? The king, there's never could happen to a king. Why didn't he have people there that was protecting? Well, if he's with his family, someone who's close family, blood, but this is something that you're not going to have your guards up. You're not going to have your medicine, your signs, your ogu, the medicine that protect you against these things. So it's unexpected, and it was a surprise, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And, it makes me think about a story in the Odio Ogunda Otura where Shango, would indulge his son, the prince, and the queen would tell him, hey, you need to, focus on discipline rather than, flooding him with gifts and attributes and things like that, because you want him to become the young man that's going to be able to take on your position. And Shango disregarded the queen's message, and he actually gifted his son a royal saber in his bedchamber. It was encrusted with rubies. It was gorgeous, and the prince wanted the crown so much that when the king turned around, he actually stabbed him in the back. And just a really sad reiteration of, the castle usually falls from within. Have there been any new revelations on the case that you'd be willing to express, to clarify for
Well,
the people?
yeah, it's an ongoing investigation. We have to understand that the Beaufort County Police are involved, but I can really sum it up in really a couple words, and the words that I use is that it's anger, anger that then turns into rage, rage turns into violence, and violence leads to death, and so, and those are the things that the what we need to be able to heal. This is an attack. This is an attack from not only from within the family, but this is an attack on our family, our Yoruba family, as well as the Lukumi. Remember, his father, Surgeman Adefumi, was Lukumi. He went to Havana, Cuba, and got initiated there. So we have the lineage that links not only Africa, but also links directly to the Lukumi community. So when people a lot of times say, "Oh yeah, those people," well, those people are your people. Those people are same people. Those are the same Shango. That's the same Ogun. That's the same Eshu Oshun or Yemanja or Ya or Ba, Inle, or Sayin. Whoever we are still the same people. And one of us is hurt, all of us is hurt. And so I had an outcrying of people from across the country who want to understand what is going on. How is this possible? What is this? And there's no one that hears the story that does not have been affected. People who have never been wanting to go to Oyotunji village have now even more interest in wanting to understand it, investigate, and be able to see what is this. As a little Africa, it's a little Africa outside of Africa that's existing here in Beaufort County, South Carolina, and it is a wonderful little place that you go down this little road back up into this little place where it is a sovereign place, a place where you can go and find solitude, and that's what happened. We had somebody who was protecting a family member. The king was protecting his family member, looking to try to make good and be able to uplift. And so part of your good works, how you said it can come and turn, good works can turn into ill fate. And this is a prime example exactly of what you're talking about, Gunda Tura, Gunda Tetura. Gunda Tetura also talks about being able to have ilats on the face and not being able to recognize one's body, one's people, right? So
Shit.
Ogunda Tetura talks about how the rats didn't recognize the rats, the fish didn't recognize the fish, and how when do we recognize who we are? And so that's why that Odu is so pertinent, as you brought that Odu up, because it's about recognition. How do you recognize and the magnitude of a person's position, and also realizing the anger and the rage that can be brought on to you by someone who's close to you.
No, beautiful SFI for sure, because, with emotions like that, it's hard to recognize that we are all one. And that's why I was so comforted when we spoke recently a couple days ago about doing this, because, you know, regardless, like you said, Isese Lukumi, it's a brother that's fallen. I
Yeah,
remember when the late Alafing passed away, I felt a kind of way, because when you looked at that gentleman, he kind of embodied what I believe Shango to be, especially in his later years. So when I see this brother having gone through this, especially, within his home, within his sanctuary, it affects all of us, because, it's like we say, we all go back to one place, one Mecca, one DNA, and, whether it's Isheshe or Lukumi, everybody was very concerned when we heard about it. So, once again, thank you for the opportunity. Now, with the celebration of life, I saw a flyer. I don't know. I would imagine it may be legitimate. We're going to ask you, but it says it may be happening sometime in October, possibly.
correct. So we're looking to put together something for the public, a public viewing, public celebration of however it was going to do. Like I said, at this point, there's going to be a selective heads. Selected heads are going to be involved with it. And October, there's going to be this public display. I suspect it's going to be October the 5th, his father's birthday. King's, we would at around that time. But
Um,
anyway, the date specifically has not been let out yet. And so we're expecting that it's going to be a place where people who want to come and pay their tributes, be able to lend their support, show their, being able to have a public outcry, this public display. At this point, things are not going to be public. Things and rituals still are being performed. There has to be cleansing of the land. There has to be rituals that are performed. Sacrifices need to be continuously performed because we know that this is a spiritual attack from the Ajawu. Even in spite of whether, there has been people that have said, oh, he didn't listen to his taboos. I've heard all matter of things, and people have been able to. The bottom line is that this is attack. This attack is an attack on all of us. Is an attack on the moral fabric of our community at large, and it is all of us that feel the pain and the heartbreak of a young 47-year-old man, full of energy and vibrance, with committed to the culture and being able to forward the culture, making it forward. We say, "Eja ba shawala rubye," that we lift up our culture, right? Omo dudua, dudu la duduo, where our skins may be black, but our brains are not black. We're Omo Oduduwa,
Ashe.
and to uplift our culture. And he was committed to uplifting his culture. And I am so proud that he, as his father did, put me in his Ogboni, and he took me on as his chief to be able to be a spokesperson and using platforms of protocol to be able to set the record straight. This was a fabulous human being. He was somebody who should be recognized and remembered and uplifted, and long live our king.
Baba, I think that's really beautiful. And me being an adult man and a father, I think it's so important that things do get clarified because it's so easy to slander somebody's character nowadays. And apart from being the professional and spiritual leader that you are nothing short of a man's man. And for you to be able to recognize that within this gentleman, crown or not, it really speaks volumes. Did he leave children behind?
Oh yes, he definitely had children, several wives that are left behind. He had loads of cousins and family and friends and sisters and brothers. I don't even know the number, but his father was busy. And, there's an extended family, and there is a lot of family that is really in pain and hurt because remember, this is a tragedy within inside of the family. So,
Yes.
definitely be this inner bickering. There's been really the outer family, which is the family in Oni of Ife of the Oyo kingdom. There's been some insult with the Oshogbo people wanting to clarify, wanting to be a part of, thinking they have rights. And the bottom line is Oyotunji is the first right to their own king, and nothing was going to be performed. No rituals are going to be performed. No one is going to be slighted or short slighted in any kind of way. And first, the people of Oyo Tunji, the kingdom, the family, deal with what they had to do before they let anyone else do. And I'm so proud to say that that's how this went down.
That's good. We were able, when someone passes away, you see a lot of behaviors, a lot of emotions. It's an outcry. Some people have good intentions, some people don't. How does it work now with the selection of the new king without taking away from all of the attention and memory that Adejuyigbe deserves? How does this work now with selection? Is it one of his sons? Does it get selected through divination? What's the process like, Baba? If you whatever you can
Well,
reveal.
I would only hope that the divination has already been performed while he was still alive, because his father had identified him to be his successor,
Ah,
and so he carried that name, and so he does have sons. One son even looks so much like him. They're definitely strong bloodline, and so I'm not sure who, in terms of specifically, will be taking up. At this point, we're still trying to just get to the remnants of the shock.
of
The
course.
shock, the amount of rituals that need to be performed, and before we can even move forward. The identifying that next person is something that will be done through divination, through careful divination, through to check and recheck. So there's the Ogboni will be able to be in place in which they will do their work. The Ogboni of Oyotunji, their work is to be able to install and to be able to put those things into place, as along with the Babalaos that are chief Babalaos, and those who would be involved with the divination will help to direct that um, that whole line, and so it will be announced. But of course, don't expect it to be any time before everything has been cemented. All the necessary rituals have been performed.
No, as it shouldn't. Definitely, you want to take him through all the processes so he can begin that process of rest and ascension to that very exclusive part of the afterlife that all those gentlemen go. But it is comforting to know that from an internal standpoint, from a logistic standpoint, it is that organized. And, it's really incredible, the relationship that we Yoruba people have with death and the
Yeah,
acceptance of it. Because to be able to perform that divination while alive, albeit somber and ominous for the present king, it is comforting to know that, things will carry on after we're gone, which is all we're trying to do is propagate this spirituality in a way where it will survive and really commemorate the resilience of our ancestors who brought it over and were able to maintain it in Africa under so much oppression. So that is comforting for all of us.
yes, Ashe. So we definitely want to continue, and Oyetunji is not. It still goes on. It still exists. The idea, the ideas in which we were laid a very firm foundation. The village of Oyotunji had a very structured and organized sense, and so much of what the father, Osojiman Adefumi I, had laid down was carried on by his son. His son had some other skills that his father didn't have, and so he was able to. And he was young, so he was able to deal with the social media, and he had a lot of groupies. He would go places and he had groupies. So there's a lot of people who just loved the idea of the handsome young king that could come into town, and he was well spoken and poised in all his ways, and that helped to be able to identify and to bring the vibrant community of the Yoruba, can keep in that Yoruba spirit vibrant and alive. And so that is same type of energy we still wish to contain, to maintain, and to be able to have that continue to grow in the Oyotunji village.
Well, Baba, you've provided some great photographs. I would love to go through some of them for you to kind of give
Sure.
us some background. And, like you said, good looking guy. Definitely seemed to have a lot of charisma in the moments that I saw him, and definitely nothing short of a leader. So Phil's going to funnel through a couple of them, and please just walk us
Sure.
through what's occurring in them.
All
Okay,
right.
here we go. Boom.
So this is Oyotunji village. Again, that's just one of the posts that helps you to know the village is there.
Okay, hang on. I'm actually gonna make it so we see you too. Hold on. Boom. And there.
Very nice.
All right, here we go.
Great. So this is the inside Oyotunji. You get to see what it looks like. There's a couple pictures that I have there of the village inside. That's more of the outside, the inside. I mean, the inside. So that gives you a sense of like going into a different place, looking like almost hut-like. But this is some of the older pictures that I had. Um, Yep. So this is, the wonderful kind of African feel that you can go when you get to Ayatunji village. And I wish I didn't have a picture of the Olokun, but there's a huge Olokun shrine there as well. Or different. I just didn't take any pictures of shrines. I didn't send any of those. Go ahead. Let's see what else. This picture is very, very important because this is important. The person in the center is his father, or Surjiman Adefumi I. This is his royal people. There's Chief Aleshin, there's Olatan, there's some of the chiefs that were so instrumental and supportive. You don't see his wives, but they were, also workhorses, and they should be recognized, even though they're not in this picture. So this is the king, of course, mounting a horse. So there's an old dude in the debate that talks about how one mounts a horse and how you set up. So this is one of the many horse pictures of the kings and how he rides in state. This is the Oyo. This is the Alafin of Oyo, and this is a wonderful picture when they met. They had a wonderful meeting several years ago. I want to say 2007 or 2018. I can't remember. I was also invited in that trip. I wasn't able to attend, but that's a wonderful picture. And this is a picture of our king. This is just one of the pictures that he took in state. That's his sister. She's an Oya priestess. She lives in Brooklyn. One of his sisters. She used to live in Canada, I think, but she's a wonderful person. We were in a festival. This is when I received my chieftaincy title. This is a picture of King presenting me with my hat. That hat that says Oyotunji on it and talks about my title, as well as the paperwork that accompanied my chieftaincy title. This is he and I, very, very, very much the same day. Recognizing after we did a march, we hosted them and gave them food and presented everyone, and he presented me with the good works that I've been doing. He said, wanted to recognize me. Same picture, more of the same about recognition, getting chieftaincy. This is actually a picture in the UN. Over there is a professor who used to be in City College. Everyone knows him very, very well, Professor Jeffries.
Can you talk about what you're wearing? Because it looks fascinating in
It's
this picture.
Agbada. It's really, really
Man,
great.
that
Great
is
cloth.
awesome.
Baba doesn't play about the cloth. You see the Ogboni shawl. You see he's not playing.
Oh,
Yes.
that looks amazing.
Yeah, so this is for the Ogboni. This is my beads, for when you become, Oluwo. And when my title, of course, is Oluwo, actually, in the Ogboni. And so I'm an Oluwo of Ogboni. So this is the beads, and of course the Ade, and of course it says Oyotunji and my title on it. So yeah, this is something that one of the things that we definitely have to recognize as Africans or Africans in the diaspora, that we use our clothes to be able to speak for us. And so titles, and so on my on the opposite side of my thing, it also has my name. So people of Harlem, and so people will have a question about who you are. It's like wearing nameplates. We used to wear nameplates, I guess, in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's the name. That's what Africans always have done for years and years and years.
Nice.
So,
Okay. All right, here we go. Same one.
Different picture, still you can keep going. This is a picture in the UN, another picture in the UN. We were, I think, a 4-day summit in the UN. We had things that we were part of a whole segment. Keep going. This is a picture inside of the parade. At the end of the parade, we took a picture, as a finale of the ending of the parade. So Gunguns was there, and this is he and I, the black and white picture of him and I.
And then that's the last one.
Once again, this is a wonderful picture. This is outside of Oyotunji. This is the entrance to Oyotunji village.
Nice. And I think that was it there.
Great.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful photographs for sure. And, it's easy to see the relationship you guys had. I interviewed someone recently, and they said the language of men is perfect. And when you see that kind of fraternity and that warmth between brothers, that's really what Ifa is all about. And, as you look at this gentleman, from slide to slide, you see certain photos where he's very invested in what he's hearing. You could see him processing information. You could see the intelligence in his eyes. You could also see the happiness, very contagious smile. Very complex guy, but, in all the right ways, somebody that I think would have been easy to follow. And, seeing the relationship you had with him, how do you think this gentleman should be remembered, Baba?
We have to recognize that someone who has done good work, held the title at a young age, and was developing and had plans and vision. He was a visionary. He was someone who had to find his way. And so, as someone who's going to be remembered, we're going to remember him for this visionary, his being able to really to take us into the 21st century. He was also a person that was on Instagram. He was on, social media. He liked media. He was involved with filming and putting out things and recording. And so, he was in books, and he wanted to get the message out that we are here and we're here to stay. We're here as Yoruba, and we're here to be able to practice our religions freely and openly. We will no longer have to hide our riches in saints. We can openly say that we're worshiping Shango, Eshu, Ogun, Obatala, Eshu, all of our riches openly and proudly, the same way that our Roots podcast has been here, showing the world that this
Show.
is our roots. This is where we come. This is where we come, because our culture is what saves us. And one of the things that we're going to recognize and remember about him is that he's somebody who recognized and he was a representative of our culture, our roots.
Beautifully said, Baba. And yeah, nothing but empathy and condolences for that family for sure. And I tell you, it would have been an absolute pleasure to sit with this gentleman, just like it'll be a pleasure, hopefully, to sit with the new king and give him that stage for him to be able to talk about all the plans as far as recovery and progress into the future, like you mentioned. Another thing that we're going to make sure to get from you is any links or anything for any type of donations, to make sure they're going to an official source, because unfortunately, some people take advantage of situations, and we want to make sure that all of the support goes to the family and the establishment that is Oyotunji. And, Baba, just thank you very much for the opportunity to be a platform for you guys to be able to voice what's really occurred, and to be able to preserve the reputation of what was a great man.
Yes. Oyeku, ikuye lorimi, oyeku. That, whenever the vulture comes down, may it come and eat the sacrifice and leave the bowl. It never takes the calabash. So we ask that the vulture, when it comes and eats what's inside the bowl, but leave us to be here to continue our good works and our deeds.
Baba, nothing for love but love for you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Talk to you soon.
Ishe, I will send you the link so that you'll be able to post it for people to be able. There's only one official link, and they would also please ask that they put donations for Oba. The money will be used, I'm sure, to cadenize and to put a statue of him that will be in the village. That's part of what I believe that's going to happen. But there's a lot of ideas, but there is really only one official source, and I will give you that Cash App link and send it to you. Please.
Thank you.
Aboato asori wofu.
Show.
Okay. Let's save the shout outs for the next show.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for the opportunity to, speak about this gentleman, to be able to put out this information. Thank you for this patience. Once again, we wanted to respect the family and the village that is Oyotunji. I want to thank again Baba Ifakunle for clarifying so many things for us, as this has been nothing short of breaking news within our community. And to that spirit, may he ascend, may he fly high and enter into the realm of the ancestors. From all of us here, guys, love you. See the light.